Good day, one and all, and welcome to Michael's Lens on Life. Today, I want you to spend some time thinking about a singular memory, something special and personal to you. It would be a memory that has spent significant time floating around in your own consciousness and that has been influential in your life, but has not necessarily been shared often or perhaps ever with the people around you. Perhaps when this special incident occurred, you did not immediately realize how important it would become, or perhaps it has become just a once-in-a-while pleasant cerebral visitation to some place that helps you to relax or calm you when you need a quiet mental space. It could be the memory of a person, a place, or a time that, for whatever the reason, became a fixed location recall that you have returned to time and time again. Now then, if you are comfortable with it, I would like for you to listen to our broadcast today and then take a minute to share your own remembrance in our comments area. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be a book-length novel, just a few lines that you would be comfortable sharing, and I would suggest that it be something that rekindles thoughts that are pleasant or reinforcing of the good that exists in and around you, and that you rarely may share with others. And with that in mind, let's enter our virtual time machine. It was 1954, midweek on a warm, bright, early autumn morning in Kansas City, Missouri. A mild breeze swirled the dancing golden leaves that had fallen from the urban forest of elm, oak, and maple trees that lined the streets throughout the metropolis. In 1954, the cost of a movie ticket was 70 cents. The cost of a gallon of gas was 21 cents. The average cost of a new car was about $1,700. And the cost of a new house, well, that averaged $10,250. Ah, but what price the cost of a good memory? A lifetime remembrance replayed over and over again across the decades. What price is that? Locust Street was a dead-end old city street a few miles north of the main downtown business area of Kansas City. The street was lined with old oak and maple trees and was located a mere few blocks from the world-famous Nelson Atkins Museum of Art. At the top of Locust Street, the open end nearest the Nelson Atkins Museum, were large brick and stone multi-story homes that had once been occupied by important upper-middle-class families, icons, if you will, to the jazz age of F. Scott Fitzgerald. While not dilapidated by any means, the large domiciles had seen better days. As one traveled down the street toward its dead end, the homes along the way took on a decidedly different flavor, becoming increasingly less indicative of financial attainment. At the bottom of Locust Street was the last residence, a duplex structure with two large apartments situated one atop the other. Now, midway down the street between those Fitzgerald mansions and the working-class duplex, and standing on the curb of the aging, badly stressed city sidewalk, was a 9-year-old boy. He lived in the upper duplex apartment at the end of Locust Street with his mother, father, and 5 sisters. The boy was dressed in a partial Cub Scout uniform, wearing the official dark blue first-level scout shirt, the one with the thin gold piping, over a pair of worn jeans and soiled tennis shoes. The matching neckerchief, cap, and blue uniform pants were missing because his parents hadn't come to closure yet on whether they were really necessary. Given the short duration of the boy's eventual scouting career, the incomplete uniform was really of no consequence except to its contribution to the emotional anxiety of incompleteness that was being measured by the boy while standing on the curb. The boy was soon joined by 4 other Cub Scouts who appeared from various home locations along the street. It's important here to note that none of the boys in the assembled group wore a complete uniform. All of them had gathered together and were awaiting the neighborhood's den mother, who appeared forthwith, along with the assistant den mother, who was tasked with keeping order. Mrs. Den Mother was a slim, rather pinch-faced divorced woman of stern attributes, now dressed in her Sunday best, with a handbag dangling from her left arm as she fumbled in the purse for the car keys. She seemed nervous, and this was the first time that her den of scouts could remember her ever being dressed so formally. The group of Boy Scouts had been briefed the week before by Mrs. Den Mother that they would be engaged in a special field trip. It was a project, they were told, that would lead to the acquisition of their civics participation badge. The gravity of the badge acquisition event had an apparently significant importance, given the lecture that they had to endure from Mrs. Den Mother, a dissertation about how government is supposed to work. She also told them that in no uncertain terms they must be on their best behavior during the outing. All of these small observations indicated to the boys that something extraordinary was going on, something unusual, something of scouting badge importance. Walking just ahead and to the side of Mrs. Den Mother as she came down the front porch stairs was her 9-year-old son, a rather large, rumpled, lumbering sort of kid, but he was dressed in a full and complete Cub Scout uniform. Therefore he was, in the eyes of his compatriots, a privileged, spoiled, rotten mother's boy. But his familial relationship to Mrs. Den Mother brought him a lot of purchase. With a sharp, "It's time to go, everyone in the cars," the entourage of Mrs. Den Mother, her helper-assistant Den Mother, and the 6 Cub Scouts piled into 2 cars and headed off to their appointment with destiny. In truth, it would be a trip that would be indelibly etched into everyone's memory, but would be especially subject to recall many times in the future by the boy standing on the Locust Street curb. 20 minutes after departure from Locust Street, the cars found parking spaces on a downtown street in front of the Kansas City Federal Reserve Bank building, an imposing 21-story old facade office building. Mrs. Den Mother and her assistant gathered the boys before entering the building and reminded them to be quiet, listen and learn, and behave. And with that she opened the door, and the civics-minded group entered the rather dark and cool space of the building lobby. An elevator, complete with a uniformed operator, whisked them upward, and they emerged into a long hallway with dark wood trim, hanging lamps, and doorways with frosted glass panels that announced the businesses and personalities beyond the doors. After a short traverse down the hallway, Mrs. Den Mother, with her charges in tow, selected door 1107, opened it, and the party entered. They were immediately greeted by a plump, overly cheerful woman who was the spitting image of Mrs. Santa Claus. At least that's who the boy marked her as. She went immediately to another door next to her desk, opened it, and told them they were expected and to go right in. The room smelled of cigar smoke, barbershop cologne, and old skin. 3 older men occupied the expansive office space. One, in shirt sleeves, was seated on a side chair near the large desk. One stood next to a corner bookshelf behind the desk, and they both mumbled greetings to the scout group as the man in the side chair stood and moved over to the wall in obvious anticipation of something to follow. But it was the slightly built ancient man who was seated at the desk that captured everyone's attention. He was wearing a light brown suit, wore a bow tie, and had wireframe eyeglasses. He had an air of official importance, and he looked absolutely immaculate. The boys, who all understood the look and authority of a school principal, immediately and respectfully directed their attention to Desk Man. He smiled brightly, looked them over carefully, and then stood up from behind the desk and launched immediately into a well-rehearsed speech about civic structure and the importance of civic participation. If not for his enthusiasm, which was overwhelming, and the fact that it was obvious to the boys that this was part of their trip that would seal their acquisition of the civics badge, the speech, no matter the enthusiasm, would probably have put them to sleep. At the end of the talk, and unexpectedly to all in the room, the boy nervously stepped forward and asked Desk Man for his autograph. Mind you, he had no idea of what an autograph was, but his father had used that term and told him to get it. The room went deathly silent. Desk Man stopped smiling. With a stern look through his wireframe eyeglasses, he instructed the boy that asking for the whatever it was simply not done in a formal environment. Well, that was all it took. The rebuke from Desk Man hit the bullseye. The boy crashed emotionally for having committed what seemed to him must have been an obvious big-person crime, and he broke out into alligator-tiered sobbing. The impact of the tears absolutely leveled the Desk Man, whose demeanor instantly changed from stern to sympathetic and apologetic, and with a quick hand motion, he ushered the boy to join him behind the desk with a, there's no need for crying. I'm not mad at you. Here." And Desk Man sat down and took a small sheet of paper from a pad on the desk and signed it and handed it to the boy with a quick hug. Goodbyes and handshakes were made all around. The Cub Scouts and their den mother and assistant left the office, and they all headed back to their homes on Locust Street. At the next weekly meeting of the Cub Scout pack, the group who had attended the downtown outing were given and proudly accepted their civic badges. Most of them lost it within a short period of time. The boy's mother put the autograph into the boy's memories book, where it remains on a closet shelf to this day. And the old man in the bow tie and wireframe eyeglasses, who had initially refused the autograph, that was former President Harry S. Truman, who would become, over time, the boy's favorite president. And the boy in the story? That was me. Well, please remember to hit that thumbs up button and the subscribe icon, and please feel free to leave comments about this broadcast or leave a special memory of your own. Thank you for sharing this time with me. This has been a presentation of Michael's Lens on Life. Until next time, be well and be safe.